Morena, beautiful beings, and welcome back to my channel. My name is Stella, and I realize that I don't introduce myself like ever on my videos, but that's okay. My name is Stella, and I'm going to be talking about the energy that has come in due to the big portal that just happened, the 2222 portal. But actually, even though it's the energy from the portal, the actual energy itself, portals are only open for a certain amount of time. So when you receive that energy, after that it's the aftermath. But with this energy that's come in is here to bring forth a new era. And so even though I'm talking about the energy of the portal, it's really just energy that's come in, that's staying, that's come in to cleanse and to purge our humanity. So I haven't decided what I want to call this video yet, but I really want to call it something like the return of Lemuria, or yeah, something along those lines, or maybe the energies that are coming in, because the main thing that is happening right now that I have talked about for a little while, but I've sort of been a little bit careful around what I say because I didn't want to talk about things that are not at least what I resonate with as being true. And so what I wanted to talk about with you guys today is the fact that the energy that's coming in from this portal, and just in general, because what's really happening is the planet's frequency is raising. I've had some really insane downloads around what's going on right now, so I'm going to share some of these with you. So what I've gathered is, before our beautiful planet was Mother Earth, Lady Gaia. If you've heard of Gaia, that's another term that we use to describe the Earth. It's the goddess that resides or overlooks or protects our beautiful planet. She wasn't always a part of the celestial body. So before we even came here, and before humans were a part of this Earth, this was just a celestial body. It was just another planet with animals and mountains and its own beings, some of which we know of, many of which we don't. But not for the reasons that we necessarily think, which I'll get into soon. I guess I'm going to call this something along the lines of the ancient future of our planet. But the point is, we weren't always connected. The Lady Gaia, Mother Earth, was not always Mother Earth, Lady Gaia. And so one day, the non-human intelligence, I suppose the intergalactic beings, wanted to come together so let's just put it into perspective here. We have a huge universe. We have an enormous universe filled with so many celestial bodies, it's insane. Like, I did astronomy for like 6 weeks or something, and my mind was blown every time by the sheer size and the sheer mystery of our beautiful universe. It is huge. Like, we cannot fathom how big it is. So, we have this huge universe, so statistically speaking, we're going to have other life forces, life beings out there. Now, statistics aside, because this is way more about intuition than this is about science and statistics, the beings that are out there are a lot more connected to our planet than we may think, that we've been told over and over again through subtle conditioning and brainwashing, through mainly media, telling us that something is fictional and therefore we believe it. If we are brought up believing, being told something is fictional, what reason do we have to believe otherwise? Because we've never seen it before. Or at least we think we haven't, because we don't know what we're looking for, because we've been told to look for something completely different to what we're actually looking for. And so the collectives, there are thousands and thousands, millions of collectives out there, different kinds of collectives of different planets that look like completely different beings, that have a completely different frequency to each other, that talk and communicate and vibrate at on different waves and do different things. And we have like planets of Mintaka, where we've got the beautiful mermaid beings, and we've got the planets of Pleiades, which I know a lot of people who resonate with Starseeds will resonate with and know of the players of Pleiades, which is of course a constellation, but it is also a place where beings reside, a collective resides, the Pleiadians, and there's like 30 or 40 different types of Pleiadians. And they are a being that works with, but not all of them, because just like humans, we do have, we have a variety within each collective. But the ones, they reside on a frequency that's very high, that's very full of love. So they are beings of love, which is beautiful. And we have lots of others, but I'm sure the main ones that you've probably heard of are Andromeda, Lyra, Pleiades, Arcturus, Sirius, one's completely slipped my mind, so I guess that's not meant to be talked about right now. And so with all these different beings who reside on different frequencies, who have different bodies, who have different ways of communicating, who live light years and light years and light years away from each other, even if we can travel to one another, it made sense to have this planet that we could come together to play, to grow, to connect, to exchange knowledge, sharing the same body, sharing the same form, or not even necessarily the same form, but the same way of communicating. We'll all come together to connect, to experience, to learn. Because of course planet Earth, before it was planet Earth, was still of the same density. And not many planets that have life have that level of dense frequencies, the lower frequencies. So coming here, it was like, oh my god, let's go here, it's a playground, like we can learn things, we can experience what it's like to be a third, connecting to the third dimension while still being a multi-dimensional being, and understanding that we're a multi-dimensional being. So people came to this planet the people, like the beings, we would come to this planet to learn and to connect and to grow and to play. And it was a utopian place because it was created as such. It was created when Gaia came to connect with planet Earth, to create the Gaia, which is a frequency of unconditional love, came to connect with planet Earth to create that space of holding, I suppose, and love and provision, because before that it was just a celestial body. It wasn't the Mother Earth, the Mother Nature that we know now. There were beings here, of course, but through an agreement with the planet and Lady Gaia, they came together and created Mother Earth. And from that connection, we had Lemuria, Golden Lemuria, which I'm sure many of you have heard of, or if you haven't, Lemuria is essentially what we call the Garden of Eden, is the paradise, is the utopia, this place that we have been conditioned to believe is impossible to achieve. It is where the dragons mythology came from. It is where fairies and mermaids and all those beings that we've sort of grown up knowing about but not really known why we know about, they all resided and existed in this time, because it was simply just collectives coming together to connect. Some sharing the same avatar, some becoming the nymphs of the earth, or mermaids, or fairies, or unicorns, or dragons, or many different kinds. And so when Mother Earth connected, when Gaia connected to this planet, Lemuria was created, everybody was living in harmony and peace. The fantastical beings that we have heard of were among us, were with us, and we were not of the third dimensional frequency that we are now, because, not that we are, but that we believe to be, ourselves to be, that we have been told that we are, because we understood our connection to Source. And coming here would ground us to this planet, but we understood our connection to Source, so we had telepathy, we had ability, we could fly, we were much bigger than we are now, and we could communicate with the beings of the planet, we could communicate with the trees and the earth, and because we understood that everything had a soul, had a frequency, and everything was connected to Lady Gaia, who we knew, who we were connected to, who we understood was there. We knew that she was there. We knew that she was a part of our beautiful, beautiful planet. So this happened, but then, and so this was the harmony. This was the peace. We were living in total harmony with one another because we didn't have a reason not to. We came together to learn, to grow. Yes, there were hardships, being of a new species in a new place that we'd never been before. We had to learn. That's why we came together, to learn, to share and exchange knowledge. So yes, there were hardships, and being around denser frequencies weren't exactly easy, but it was peace, it was harmony, it was a utopia. It was truly the Garden of Eden. Now, with the Garden of Eden story, Eve eats an apple and from the forbidden fruit from the tree and gains awareness. The way I know it to be is a little bit different. So there are many, 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 many dimensions, many frequencies of our universe, but we have the soul frequency, the one that we truly are a frequency of, and then we have sort of the more embodied forms of that soul. And in a lot of our embodied forms, which create the, which are part of the galactic, intergalactic sort of collectives, they are, a war broke out. A huge universal war broke out. Now, because if you go higher, if you go to the soul frequencies, the universe, like time and space doesn't really exist in that way, and so all the different ways of possibilities existed, and they say like the universe was at danger. That's not so much the case, but yeah, it's really hard to explain because the way that time and space works, I can't explain that right now. So, but the point is, in one realm of existence, within realms, there was a war. And this war, a lot of our souls, in fact, most of us who are here, remember this. We know this. A huge war. All you need to do is look around you to see what I'm talking about. But if we go a little further out into space, there was a huge war where planets were being destroyed and collectors were being taken over, and there were some collectors who weren't all connected to the light, and that doesn't make them necessarily bad, just different. But for us, it wasn't really serving our good. who wanted to take control. They had a bit more of a nefarious intention. So when this war broke out, Earth, that was initially created to come together and learn and connect, became, just like everywhere else, a reflection of that place, because everything that was happening out here, the beings, this is the way that I see it, is that there was a time where we were at peace, the war broke out, and then a bunch of different collectives came together to, I guess, communicate what do we do with this war. Because even though the universe itself, the source of the universe, can see all the different timelines, we necessarily couldn't. So not everybody actually, just like here, not everybody actually knew what to do about this war. And so those who had a connection to sort of the higher source, that had more of an understanding, more of a perception of all the different timelines and could see different things play out, came together and concluded the best way is to create a world in which everything that happens out here happens here. And so this world was created, and all of a sudden Lemuria split into two, and we had the Atlanteans and we had the Lemurians, and initially there was still peace and harmony, but over time, because of course the beings that were creating the war out there came to planet Earth as well. So over time, I don't know if you've heard the story of Lemuria and Atlantis. Atlantis is essentially the masculine and Lemuria is the feminine. And so the golden Lemuria was a time where masculine and feminine were one. And then when the war broke out, it split into two. And so initially there was harmony, but very quickly the Atlanteans and the Lemurians, because they were disconnected from one another, became distorted. And so we've heard a lot of stories about the Atlanteans turning on the Lemurians, and yes, that is true, that the Atlantean masculine energy became distorted. They wanted the control, just like what was happening out in this here. And it was all Atlantis was all about technology and crystals, using crystals to generate technology, but it was like really, really, really high tech, very cool, and initially very, very love based, like very positive, not in the way that we view technology now. However, because of the distortion, that became a thing of control, and the Lemurias became too passive, I guess. I don't really know how to say it, but this, just in the way that the masculine became distorted, the feminine became distorted, and so a war broke out on planet Earth between the Lemurians and the Atlanteans. Seemingly, it looked like the Atlanteans were taking over the Lemurian, trying to take control, but the Lemurians were also doing their own part, had their own part to play in this. And so the next part, we all kind of know, Atlantis destroyed itself, and Lemuria, and so both these places went away. Now I do that because of what I'm going to say next. And so that went away, and that was initially that was the first experiment. Let's separate the two, separate the divine masculine, the divine feminine, see what happens when they have their awareness. Didn't go very well. So we started again, and this time we created humans where there was awareness, but it wasn't so much so connected to the divine. It was just a little bit of awareness. It was like we're three-dimensional beings, but we understand certain aspects and we have ties and we are connected to certain energies, but there was still that necessity for free will and understand, like there was still like a lot of hidden knowledge. And these beings were not separate of the divine masculine and the divine feminine. So even though they were incarnating as the masculine or the feminine, they had both within them. Actually, scratch that. They were still separate because we had the masculine and we had the feminine. Because the war was still going and we were still trying to find a solution. And so the souls that were coming in to learn and also to heal that war. So of course we had thousands and thousands and thousands of years of growing and learning and different civilizations coming together and then destroying themselves, coming together and destroying themselves. A lot of time went into who we are today, but because of course in space-time, time is very different here compared to out there, so even though it may seem like we've been here for hundreds, thousands of years, out there it's just a blip. And the war that's been happening out there, that is also happening here. I don't know if you've heard of microcosm and the macrocosm, or as above so below. That's been playing out here through the different ways that we have seen destruction and devastation and different wars and different forms of suffering and slavery and oppression and karma and all of the harder stuff to swallow. And so that's been playing out for generations and generations. But what we don't know, and this was the war between the masculine and the feminine. This is the war between the beings that wanted to take over. Some say it's a war between the light and the shadow. It's a little bit more complicated than that because the light and the shadow are connected. Same with the divine masculine and the divine feminine, they are connected, but of one place it is a war of that. And so our planet, which reflected the war that was happening out there, which was also happening in here, was in turmoil. And so if you've noticed that we've sort of had like repeating history, there's a reason for that, because this war hadn't ended. However, and this is what I'm getting at, this was a very long way to get there, but I felt like you needed to know the first part of what all of this is about. The war has been won. The war has ended. It has already won. It is already, we've already won. And when I say we, I mean the beings of light and harmony and love and all those good energies that we like to be in, those beings. It's not that there's a good or a bad, it's just the nice energies. The ones that aren't killing and destructive and taking away and controlling, and there's a place for those energies, of course. And that's why we came here. We had to move through that shadow in order to come out the other side. And that's why we chose to incarnate. And that's why we created planet Earth, so that we could learn this stuff, so that we could essentially win the war. The war that It's very multi-dimensional and hard to explain. But there was this war. And we had to come here as our high frequency selves, go through the shadow and reintegrate the shadow and the light together, the masculine and the feminine together, and through doing that we won the war. There is no war now because the beings that wanted the war have been integrated, if that makes sense. And so, even though we've gone through all this hard stuff, we had to, and that's why this earth was created, in order to get us to a place of winning the war, and we knew that creating this earth would do that. We just didn't know how long or what equation that required. For example, the first time it failed. Second time, it succeeded. Well, second. There's a lot of in-betweens. But yeah, the second time it has succeeded. Being human and unaware and rediscovering our awareness. We had to go through the dark, the shadow, the unconscious, absolutely no idea who we are, why we are here, no connection to source that we know of. Go through the hard stuff, experience all of that, and then come out the other side. And when we come out the other side, when we came out the other side collectively, which we are doing right now, because the war out here, the war in the universe has already been won. But planet Earth takes a little bit longer to manifest that physical reality. So for us, the war is still going on, seemingly. But don't think like that, because the war has already been won. And that is why we are seeing things happen so fast. That is why so much stuff is seemingly happening and coming up. And that is why the war just started over in Russia and Ukraine. That is why the COVID thing has just happened. The jab. They know they've lost. The beings that have infiltrated this planet with nefarious intent, who wanted to take control, who I haven't really gone over because this is such a huge topic, I can't really do this all in one video, but just know that just like there are light beings on this planet, there are starseeds, beings who, and we are all connected, we are all souls from other places, but we don't all remember that. But the starseeds are the ones that do. There are also the starseeds of the lower frequencies, and I don't like saying lower, but the more nefarious intentions. A lot of them are in charge currently, because that's what happened. But we have won. And so Lemuria, the energy that I talked about at the very beginning of this video, which is that energy of union, of total unification with oneself, with the divine masculine and feminine being one, with the light and the shadow being one, understanding that we are all one, before everything became seemingly separate and the war broke out. That is coming back, because we have won. We have won, and so all of those beings who have integrated their light and their shadow, and this is so important. You cannot come to this place with shadow. You cannot come to this place with karma, with trauma, with anything that hasn't been integrated. I know that sounds really weirdly exclusive. It's not. It just means that because the war has been won, when we pass this time, we're not going to have to go through the cycle of karma. The war is won. The karma has been healed. So we can go home. We can go home to our souls. And like Earth is home as well, but we can go back to our souls and then choose what we want to do from there. So it's not so much that those who are not ready can't come. They just can't come in the form that they are, where they carry lots of baggage and trauma and pain and shadow, because the world that is being created quite literally cannot hold that. Quite literally does not vibrate at a frequency that is able to have that. The world that we are creating, this new Lemuria, is a Lemuria that we had, the Golden Atlantis, Golden Lemuria, where we had the harmony and the peace and the unification, combined with the knowledge and wisdom that we have gained being separate, and coming back to wholeness. Lemuria, we were whole. We've already been whole. We were always whole. We only knew wholeness. But now we know what it's like to be separate and come back to wholeness. We have that new level of awareness and intelligence, which means that this peace, which we could only maintain for a short amount of time before war broke out, this peace is long lasting because we understand the shadow. We understand. And so only those who understand the shadow are going to come to this place. And those who do not are going to return back to themselves and their souls and their wholeness. This is going to be... And the thing is, things are changing rapidly. Things are being revealed rapidly. And in order for things to be purged, they have to come up to the surface. And it's sort of like, I've used this analogy before. There's a lot of shadow that's still here that needs to come up, and it's coming up every second, every single day. But if, let's say, if there were a tsunami coming, and the tsunami was coming, and there was nothing we could do about it, would you want to stay where you are and allow it to come? Or would you do something and get out of the way? It's like that. The shadow's already here. The tsunami's already here. It's just a matter of whether or not we're going to do anything about it, or whether or not we're going to let it overtake us. We all have shadow, we all have karma, we all have trauma within us that we are healing. Now is the time. The energy that has come in right now has come in to heal that energy, to heal that process, to heal those experiences, to reunite us with our true wholeness, our true selves. And so through that, we're going to connect to the Akashic records, where we connect to past lives, where we can heal things that are not serving us. Things are going to come up, and it is fast. It is really, really fast. The energy that has come in is like, woof, go. Let's go. Time is now. Time is now. The world is shifting. The world is changing. This stuff is going to start happening and changing. So we got to work on here so we can keep up. I mean, confession, I was literally sobbing about an hour before creating this video. Because I'm working through my own shadow. My shadow has come right up. And it's like, woof. I'm like, whoa, that's really intense. But that's because it's coming up to be healed. It's not going to go anywhere until we purge it and we heal it. So we have to work through it. By working through it, we can come out the other side. By coming out the other side, we can go with the new energies that are joining this planet, that this planet, that Lady Gaia, that planet Earth is raising to with the collective. Because the war has been won. Light has won. Light has won. And we have come back to wholeness. And so all of these things that we believe to be impossible, all of these things that we believe we deserve, it's all topsy-turvy. It's almost the complete opposite. Everything that we've been told is almost completely the opposite of what is true. It's kind of incredible. And because of that, the energies that are coming in, they're not easy, because we have to purge everything that is not serving us. We have to purge everything that is not going to align us to our true selves. And everything that we've been taught, essentially, or almost everything, was a control mechanism to keep us in a box, even as far as the language that we use as English speakers. And I say we because I'm assuming those who watch this video speak English. Everything, or almost everything. Everything in the mainstream media. The things that we're taught in school, the law system, so many things are going to, have been lying to us. And we're going to see that. And when we see that, we're going to see the other side of it. For example, I mean, the Lemurian world is incredible. And it's very believable. We've just decided it's not because we've been told it's not. But if you actually just step back for a minute, it's like, okay, we haven't seen it, but maybe we haven't seen it because we've been stopping ourselves from seeing it because we haven't believed in it. And I don't know if you've realized this, but you can only see what you believe in. You can only really experience what you believe in. If you don't believe in love, it doesn't matter how much you look for it, it's not going to find you because you don't believe in it. You don't resonate with that frequency. So to see it, I mean, to believe it is to see it. It's not to see it to believe it. To believe it is to see it. So yeah, a lot of us haven't seen this stuff, not because it's not there, but because we've been told it's not there. And you'll have noticed probably that the frequencies that have come in that are connecting us to things. I mean, I've been reunited with my dragon, and they're pretty awesome. And I'm not going to talk much about them because that's a very sacred thing to me. But the energy that's coming in is the dragon guardians are coming back to meet their people. The dragons are coming back. The past lives are being remembered. Lemuria is being rediscovered. And Lemuria is, yes, it's a place, but it's a state of being that we create by being whole, by being in union with ourselves and our soul family, by being in union with this planet, by being in balance, by being complete. By understanding all of this, we are creating this utopian place that we used to believe, that we've been conditioned to believe is impossible, is currently being created. Anyway, my laptop is about to die, so thank you so much for watching. I hope you guys have enjoyed this video. Feel free to like, comment, and subscribe if you feel called to do so. And I hope this resonates and brought some clarity to you all. I will continue to make videos like this, going more and more into things that I think need to be talked about. And I will see you all next time. Sending lots of love. Bye.